So, the government has shut down. I watched a little bit of the live debate on several channels on YouTube, and it was ridiculous. The one that I was paying attention to was between John Thune, who is the Republican leader of the Senate, and Chuck Schumer, who is the minority leader of the Senate. And the fact that John Thune could stand up there and just boldly just say some of the just ridiculous lies, talking about that the Democrats wanted to extend health care cuts from the Obama and Biden areas, so that people could keep their health care, saying that illegal and undocumented people get health care. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. They can't. Only in emergency, when life is threatened, could they do that in an emergency room. But coming into this country and going to a doctor and calling Medicaid, calling unemployment, that they could get these benefits. Ridiculous. Lies. Lies, lies, lies. And the Americans believe it. They believe it. Because I'm pretty sure, even though a poll was done yesterday saying that over on the right side, that most people will say the shutdown is blamed on the Republicans. And then Senator Thune was saying, we can go ahead and extend the budget until November 21st, and then you can haggle about the health care and everything. And I'm like, really? Really? That's what you're saying? You didn't even allow them to be in the budget process. Not at all. Not at all. And then I will just tell you, I Googled about the history of government shutdown. And so when Clinton was the president back in 1995, actually, let me go all the way back. It's the first time that I voted was when Jimmy Carter was the president. In 1980, there was a government shutdown, but the agencies that were only affected were the FTC. And it was shut down for one day. The FCC was affected. 1,600 employees were furloughed, and it cost $700,000. And the president was a Democrat. The House was controlled by the Democrats, and the Senate was controlled by the Democrats. In 1981, Reagan became president. The first shutdown was in 1981, one day. All agencies except the legislative branch were closed. 241,000 employees were furloughed, and it cost the government between $80 and $90 million. Again, the White House was controlled by the Republicans, the House was controlled by Democrats, and the Senate was controlled by the Republicans. In 1984, the government was shut down for approximately 4 hours. 500,000 employees were furloughed, and it cost the government $65 million. Again, the White House was controlled by Reagan, the Republicans, the House was controlled by the Democrats, and the Senate was controlled by Republicans. In 1986, another 4 hours. The government, all agencies were closed. 500,000 employees were furloughed. It cost the government $62.2 million, Again, the White House was controlled by the Republicans, the House was controlled by the Democrats, and the Senate was controlled by the Republicans. Then George H.W. Bush became the president. In 1990, the government was shut down for 3 days. All agencies were affected. 2,800 employees were furloughed, and it cost the government $2.5 million. The White House was controlled by the Republicans, but Congress, both the House and the Senate, were controlled by the Democrats. Then in 1995, Bill Clinton became the president. The first shutdown during his presidency 5 days. It affected some. As a result of conflicts between the Democratic president and the Republican Congress over funding of education, the environment, and public health in the 1996 federal budget. The United States federal government shut down from November 14th through November 19th. 800,000 employees were furloughed. For those 5 days, and then there was another shutdown that lasted 21 days, and another 284,000 employees were furloughed. Both of those shutdowns cost the government $400 million. The House was controlled by the Democrats during both shutdowns, and the Congress, both the House and the Senate, during both shutdowns were controlled by the Republicans. Then during the Obama era, there was one government shutdown in 2013. The government was shut down for 16 days. It affected all agencies. 800,000 employees were furloughed. It cost the government $2.1 billion. The House was controlled by the Democrats. The White House was controlled by the Democrats. The House was controlled by the Republicans, and the Senate was controlled by the Democrats. That was during his first term. Then, during the first Trump presidency, there were 2 government shutdowns. The first one lasted 3 days in January of 2018. It affected all agencies. 692,900 employees were furloughed. There is no number about how much it cost the government. The White House, the House, and the Senate were all controlled by the Republicans. Then, between the end of 2018 and the beginning of 2019, there was another shutdown. This time it lasted 35 days. 380,000 employees were furloughed, but it cost the government $5 billion. $5 billion. And during those 35 days, those 35 days straddled 2018 and 2019. So up until January 1st, 2019, the White House was controlled by the Republicans, the House was controlled by Republicans, and the Senate was controlled by Republicans. But during the midterms, the House flipped back to the Democrats, but the House the Senate gained 3 more seats, and so it was still controlled by the Republicans. During the Biden administration, no government shutdowns at all. None. Now, during this second Trump presidency, he took his oath of office on January 20th. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 8 months. 8 months into his second presidency. And we have another shutdown. And even though the Republicans controlled the White House, the House, and the Senate, they're blaming the Democrats for this shutdown. Well, quite frankly, there's enough blame to go around. There are people on the Democratic side in both the House and the Senate that need to go. They do. They need to go. But just about everybody on the Republican side need to go because they are no more than bootlickers and ring kissers. That's all they are. They control the power, yet they have ceded the power and don't understand that they are part of the checks and balances of the executive branch. They've checked out. And the reason I'm saying this the way that I'm saying it is so that people will understand. And it's not just the federal government. It is state governments that's doing this. The state of Missouri is now in the gerrymandering lawsuit game now. Because the state of Missouri has also redrawn their lines, their representation lines, to add more seats so that Trump won't lose, or so that the Republicans won't lose the House. It has nothing to do with population growth or population decrease. It is all about kissing the ring and licking the boot. That's all it is. And I'm not even going to get into Pete Hegseth and what he's doing now. And the president was there co-signing it. The only thing that I will say, women, it's time for your attention and to pay attention. Now, I know that there's some women who agree that they should be at home taking care of the kids and taking care of the home, and then taking care of their husband when he comes home. There's nothing wrong with that, if that's what you want to do. But to say that all women should do that is ridiculous. In the same manner that Pete Hegseth is the one who needs to define what an alpha is. And not to mention the fact, not all men are alphas. And there's nothing wrong with men being betas. There's not. But just Google Pete Hegseth's speech and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to wrap this up. It's after midnight now. But I just wanted to jump on here because I know there's going to be a lot of videos on both sides and in the middle about the government shutdown. But again, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Now we've got people who have to go to work without any pay. or there are other people who can't go to work, and depending on how long this government shutdown is going to be, they may lose their homes. There are people who are on WIC benefits. And, well, you can just Google what agencies get affected by the government shutdown. Just Google that, and you will see exactly what's going to happen. And remember, I'll remind you, the longest government shutdown happened under Trump's watch. Under his watch. Just reminding you of that. Under his watch. $5 billion. And it took Biden 4 years to get us back. I'm going to leave that right there and end this video in the manner in which I always do. #elections have consequences. But there is hope. The 2026 midterms. Have a good evening, everyone.